Thank you, thank you. Today I want to talk about the potential future of nuclear power. All right. The first commercial nuclear powered reactor opened in the year of 1958. Now, I know that most of us weren't thought of at that time, but let's take a trip back to 1958. The Everly Brothers had a hit record, All I Need to Do Is Dream. The Edsel was introduced to the American consumer, and Tennis for Two, a game similar to Pong, was developed. Now let's come back 55 years. When was the last time anybody here bought a record? Anybody even seen a record recently? Oh, then we got some people in the back. Of course, y'all would have to have a record, right? The Edsel, although it proved to be a commercial failure, the technology in your average sedan or car has grown by leaps and bounds. And we no longer play video games on oscilloscopes. We have PS3s and Xboxes hooked up to HD TVs. Yet, 55 years later, the commercial nuclear power plant exists in virtually the same state. So what I want to talk about today is, what would the commercial nuclear power plant look like if we implied that human need to rebuild and reinvent to make things smaller and to make things more efficient? So what would be some of our goals? Well, first, we'd want to miniaturize the reactor and the reactor vessel. We'd want to get more more energy out of our nuclear fuel, so we want to be more efficient. And we probably would want to have some type of safety systems that would work even in the event of a catastrophe. So there has been some thought and some research on this subject, and it's come up with a class of reactor called the small modular reactor. Now, a small modular reactor would be prefabricated and shipped to a location, such as a rural community or developing country. And we would take the small modular reactor and we would just plug it into its current power grid, or we could build a power grid around it. And by doing that, we could provide up to about 30% of the power of a commercial nuclear power plant, right? But another benefit would be that we could also just upgrade by adding more small modular reactors, or SMRs, as I say from here out. That way we can upgrade the power grid as a country grows, as a town develops. Now, what type of technology would a small modular reactor be based on? Well, initially it would be based on the technology behind the light water reactor, because technologically that's the lowest hurdle. Most of the commercial power plants in the United States, well, nuclear power plants, are based on light water reactor technology. All that means is that the reaction is cooled by water. All right, so basically what we're initially going to do, we're going to take that and we're just going to scale it down. But that's not the neatest part of the small modular reactor. Really, any type of reactor technology can be adapted to the small modular reactor concept. And a really neat reactor type that I think has a lot of potential is the small molten salt reactor. Now, in a molten salt reactor, our fuel is in liquid form. In a light water reactor, we have a solid fuel rod. In a molten salt reactor, we can take advantage of something known as the thorium-uranium fuel cycle. Now, thorium is the 36th most abundant element in the Earth's crust. That's 3 times more abundant than uranium, and there are vast thorium reserves all throughout the world. So we don't have to worry about where we're going to get this energy source from. It's all around us. Another good part about molten salt reactor technology is that if we want to refuel our reactor, we can just pour more fuel in. There won't be any downtime or maintenance while we're switching out fuel rods. And during the reprocessing of our nuclear fuel, we can remove some byproducts that actually have commercial value, like iodine-131 or cesium-137, that have uses in the medical field. But we're not just limited to molten salt reactor technology. We can also use something known as the fast neutron reactor and apply that to the small modular reactor technology. Now, in a fast neutron reactor, we use a different type of coolant. And by using different types of coolants, we can control how fast neutrons move in a reaction. So the faster neutrons move, the more reactions we'll have. The more reactions we'll have, the more energy we can get out of our nuclear fuel. So by doing that, we could potentially get up to 60 times more energy out of our nuclear fuel, right? Sounds like a great thing. But there's another great part of this. If we use a fast neutron reactor, what ends up happening is that since we have so many neutrons moving around so fast, some of the worst components of nuclear waste will also undergo fission. So that's going to leave us with a nuclear waste that decays in centuries as opposed to millennia. Now, I know what you're all saying. Nuclear power, yeah, right. Like this, Mr. Grooms, when I talked to him earlier, he said, you're not putting that in my backyard, right? So what are we going to do for safety? Because if we don't feel safe with this technology, then it's just a moot point. Well, by making a reactor smaller, that means that we're using fewer parts. That means fewer systems to monitor, and also means fewer potential points of failure. The next generation of small modular reactors will also have passive safety design. Now, in our current nuclear technology, our safety systems are based on hydraulic pumps having electricity. But in the future, we'll have parallel passive safety designs, which basically means that we'll use the laws of thermodynamics to create safety systems that will work even in the event of a catastrophe. Now, another good part about small modular reactors is that they can be installed underground, which will help shield from natural disasters such as the tornadoes and hurricanes that we experience here in the Southeast, but it'll also make them harder for terrorists to target. And no longer will we need massive nuclear power plants with tons of security. By taking advantage of different types of reactor types and fuel cycles and coolants, we can create a waste product that has less weapons-grade material. And also this waste product will decay faster. So what does this all mean? Well, I know a lot of you probably watch the news and you're aware of what's going on in the world right now. And the scramble to secure resources will play a profound impact on the 21st century. Now, do I believe that the small modular reactor is a panacea to all of the world's energy woes and we'll just put these in the backyard and everybody hold hands? No. But I do believe that an energy policy based on exploring our nuclear technology as well as alternative fuels, wind, solar, and trying to get even more efficiency out of our current traditional sources, I really do believe that that'll have a benefit not only to mankind, but to mankind, but to our country as well. So with that in mind, I ask you to keep an open mind and use your skepticism and concern to help develop and craft smarter, safer nuclear technology and to help write smarter regulation of the nuclear power industry. But what I want you to not do, what I implore you not to do, is to let fear put another 50-year boundary around the exploration of what could be one of man's greatest energy sources. Thank you.